What is going on, everybody? And this is going to be my quick thoughts on E3 2016. Now, E3 is come and gone this year, and honestly, I thought this was a pretty good E3 overall. Wasn't as good as some previous years, but there have been some worse years as well. So, I'm going to give you my quick thoughts on stuff that happened at E3. I'm not going to go over every single thing because some things definitely need their own specific video, so look out for those. So let's start out with the worst thing of E3 this year. More specifically, the worst conference this year. And not a lot of people are saying this, but I'm going to say this because I truly believe this. The EA conference was the absolute shits this year. It was. A lot of people have stated that the worst conference this year is either Ubisoft or Bethesda or even Nintendo, even though I don't consider what Nintendo did a conference. But what do those three have in common that EA doesn't? They at least showed some gameplay and some information of games that you're looking forward to or you're probably looking forward to. EA did none of that. None of that at all. There were two games on the EA side that I'm really looking forward to, and that is Mass Effect Andromeda and Battlefield 1. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, well, they did a 1-hour Battlefield 1 live stream. I understand that, but that was after the conference. So that doesn't count, because it was after. I'm talking about the actual conference itself. When it comes to Battlefield 1, they showed almost nothing during the actual conference. And as far as Mass Effect Andromeda goes, they didn't really show much of anything. And you know what? There is no excuse for that. None. They announced the game at last year's E3, so everyone got excited. Oh, a new Mass Effect game. Yay, I can't wait for it. And I was one of them. Here we go, a year later, and you have almost no gameplay or anything to share with us? I mean, what they basically did, it almost seemed like it was a developer diary of the game. I don't want to see a diary of the game. I want to see some gameplay. I want to see some information, especially since this Mass Effect is not going to have any returning characters at all. It's going to be a whole new cast from top to bottom. So you gotta show me something to get excited. Because honestly, at this point, I have lost excitement for the new Mass Effect. Is that a foreign concept nowadays? Because in order for someone like me to get excited about something, you need to show me something. You need to give me something to sink my teeth into. And they didn't with Mass Effect. But what did EA do? Oh, EA spent a good 40-something minutes on nothing but sports games? That was unnecessary, and I would think even fans of sports games would find that kind of unnecessary. Because you don't need to talk that much about sports games. What is there really to say? There's not much to say, actually. Just announce the game, show some gameplay, and move on to the next one. That's really all you need to do. But they spent way too much time on these sports games, talking about Madden esports, and then they were doing Peter Moore and this guy who's a soccer coach. Yes, I know it's called football, but to me it's soccer. Sorry. And they were going back and forth, and it was like some inside joke, and I don't know what the hell they were talking about because I don't follow it. It was all a waste of time. And honestly, that's what the EA conference was really. At the end of the day, it was just a complete fucking waste of time. I don't know how anyone could sit here and say what Nintendo offered, what Ubisoft and Bethesda offered was worse than this. At least they showed gameplay of some of their games. EA didn't do that. So, okay. So let's go to the big guns. Let's talk about Microsoft's E3. And Microsoft... Excuse me. There goes my lisp again. Sometimes happens. Microsoft's E3 was actually pretty solid. It was pretty good. It's usually been the streak of Microsoft E3s the past few years. Just solid efforts. And Gears of War 4 looks amazing. I can't wait for that. Cuphead, I can't wait for that. That game needs to be in my life right now. I need that game so badly. I can't wait for it. And they also announced the Xbox Scorpio. And they also announced an Xbox One Slim. Honestly, this might just be me, but with Microsoft announcing all the new systems, it's gonna kind of confuse people somewhat. It's like, do I actually want to buy the Xbox One Slim, which is a better value than the regular Xbox One? And that reminds me, you know what to me this was? To me, this was Microsoft basically telling you, you know, you all were pretty stupid for buying the original Xbox One. You should have just waited a couple years, and then you could buy an upgraded Xbox One Slim. And it doesn't have that power brick. Finally, that stupid Xbox power brick is gone. God, it only took Microsoft forever to do that. So, to me, that's what it was. It was basically slapping Xbox One owners in the face for not waiting. And then they announced the Xbox One Scorpio. And there's all these different prices, and they didn't really go over the Scorpio's price. So, to me, it's all kind of confusing. It's like, do we wait for the Scorpio, or do we actually want to buy an Xbox One S? You know, I know they'll explain more in the future, but the way they did it here just made it seem a tad confusing to me. But overall, Microsoft had a solid E3. And I commend them for that, because we've seen some past Microsoft E3s that we would like to forget, and they mostly involve the Kinect. So, moving on, let's talk about the best conference at E3. The PlayStation conference. Sony knocked it out of the goddamn park. You want to know what Sony did that all the other ones didn't, that all the other conferences did a lot? Sony barely talked during their conference. They might have had someone come out on stage and talk maybe 3 or 4 times the entire conference. Guess what was at the Sony conference the rest of the time? Games, 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 and more games, and more games. It was wall to wall to wall games. And I remember watching that and I was like, wow, Sony is almost going to show nothing but games. And maybe they'll wait for the PlayStation experience to talk more about their upcoming hardware and numbers, and I think that's what's going to happen, because they showed almost nothing but games their entire conference, and a lot of those games look great. Last Guardian's finally coming out, even though I'm not interested in it. The new rebooted God of War looks really interesting. They actually got me excited for PlayStation VR. Now, I need to try out PlayStation VR, but they got me excited for it. And a lot of the stuff that's coming to PlayStation VR looks really cool. So, all in all, and then they announced this new Kojima game, which looks very weird. It involved baby oil fetuses and Norman Reedus, and it's just really weird. But I'm happy that Kojima is able to do what he wants to do, because he's out of Konami. Hashtag fuck Konami. So that was great. Just Sony knocked it out of the park. They were easily the best E3 conference this year. So all in all, E3 2016, pretty damn good. There's a lot of stuff that I'm looking forward to for the rest of this year and into next year. So, alright, let me know what you think, and until next time, y'all have a good one.